Hey everyone, welcome to the Bible Belt Bros podcast. Andrew,
what's up?
Welcome. Andrew, did you hear the latest news on, I don't know. I was trying to be funny.
Coming from the Southern Baptist Convention?
Oh, yes, yeah, the latest news coming from the Southern Baptist Convention, Andrew. When people talk about what denomination you are, I always, technically my roots go back to First Baptist Church Aurora, and that was Southern Baptist Church, Southern Baptist affiliation. Andrew, I might have to stop saying that. And so apparently there was a national convention.
That happens every year.
Happens every year. And I lost the story that said how many people, was it 10,000 people?
Yeah, I think you had said 10,000.
10,000 people go to this every year. And I don't know, they go there to complain about things, I guess. I don't know what you do at a national convention, an annual convention. But
I know at a church convention,
pretty much here's what came out of that convention. Southern Baptists target porn, sports betting, and same-sex marriage, as well as willful childlessness.
So if you are intentionally not having children, they don't like it.
I was okay, but the sports betting thing is where you're trying to take away my FanDuel. You're trying to take away our church ministry fantasy football.
Oh,
what are you trying? You're trying to, like, how deep does this go?
Right. You could still do your fantasy football. You just can't have a prize at the end, I would say.
That's the stupidest thing ever. Nobody's betting to not win anything. That's why I stopped joining those church leagues that have no money involved, because those people stop. If they start losing, they stop playing, and it's just not fun anymore. Right. And because now they get a bye basically, because they're gonna have all these people that are either hurt for the rest of the season that don't get subbed out, and so you hate playing with church people because of that. They put $10 on it for a full season, guys. Like, come on, it just drives me crazy.
Yeah.
And I might be in multiple leagues that are paid, but that's besides the point. Right. Okay, we're not attacking me.
Maximizing your return on investment.
Exactly.
Your time is your investment. You got to maximize that, Dusty.
Exactly. And you got to have something to play for. You got to have a prize at the end, a little pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. Come on. We are in Oklahoma. In Oklahoma, you can play FanDuel. You can do even the legal prop betting. You can do those. I think it's Prize Picks is one of the sites that come out where you can pick 2 or 3 people, and the more people that you pick, the bigger the prize can be. So your $5 can get multiplied, and you have to either choose over or under one touchdown in this game, over and under this many yards passed. Right. And it's really hard to get a bunch of people right, because somebody's going to get hurt, somebody's going to have a bad game.
Right.
Somebody's going to get in foul trouble.
Just the other day, game 1 of the Thunder game, there was a guy who placed I think it was a 7-game parlay or something, and he got all the way to the Thunder game, and he bet on the Thunder, and then the Thunder lost. Dude was projected to win, I don't know, $238,000 off a $10 bet. Right. And
those are what drives people to go crazy. Yeah. The opportunity there.
Yeah. He literally lost $238,000 with 0.3 seconds left on the clock on that game.
Well, in full disclosure, I used to bet a FanDuel on baseball. And man, baseball is the hardest, to me, it has been the hardest sport to bet on, because because if you think about it, the best players in the league right now are batting 1 out of 3, you know? And so just winning those games, so they have 1 out of 3. That means also they have 0 out of 4 or whatever,
Yeah, and really, honestly, maybe not even a 1 out of 3.
I was just thinking batting average 330.
Yeah, but I'm thinking, a 300 right now is good. So
in double headers, you'd bet a team and they're gonna win today. Well, they lost the first game, and then they won the second game 10-0, and you're like, why did you not just do that the first game when I had money on it?
Right.
So anyways, I usually win a lot of money on football, and I say a lot. It's not a lot, guys. Come on. I'm placing $5 bets here and there. FanDuel's gotten more expensive, and the bigger money ones are $10 per thing you put in there. And nowadays with AI and stuff, it's not as much fun to do those anymore, because the odds, the prop odds betting is just so calculated on trying to get the best lineup. based on the average number of what they do.
AI is really hurting everything.
It is. It is really hurting everything. And it's taken away my joy of sports betting. And now I want to get back into it. And you know what takes my joy out of sports betting? The Southern Baptist Convention. It's not legal yet to actually bet on games, I guess was what I was starting to say. And so finally getting to the point, can it be legal in Oklahoma? Please.
Right.
And I felt like it was all the casinos here are against it, because that would take money
away from them, right?
Away from them, because ultimately placing a bet online is, with everything nowadays, is if you can do it on your phone, you can do it more impulse buying. That's why people buy things online more often. It's just because you can get it right now and don't even have to think about it.
You no longer have to go to the casinos and bet with a bookie. You
can be 5 minutes before game time and you know what? I'm going to put $20 on this game, and you're not going to have enough time to drive to the casino to do it. So things like that, I could see how. Yeah, even if you look at pornography, what they want to ban, access on your phone has made that so much easier and accessible to get to.
Well, again, we're in Oklahoma, so not anymore, because Oklahoma passed that law.
Oh yeah, Oklahoma.
You now have to.
Doesn't they ban websites and stuff?
Well, no, you have to verify or something. You have to upload your license or something like that to the websites to be verified so that you can get on. I don't know.
That makes it not illegal. I'm pretty sure it's certain websites are banned.
Well, Oklahoma is trying, so that was last year. This year, they're just trying to completely ban all porn in Oklahoma.
That's fine.
But yeah, last year.
But sports betting, stay out of it.
Yeah. Well, Oklahoma is already kind of, sports betting is not legal. You can do the parlays, but you can't bet on the spread in Oklahoma.
Well, that's what I was saying. That's what I would like to bet on.
Right.
That's why I'd have to go to offshore accounts to place those bets. And then I'm like, I don't want to put my card in here, but you're forcing me, people, to put my card on file into this offshore place that I can't trust.
You can't necessarily be bad at the Southern Baptist when it's already illegal in your state.
I think what they're trying to do is
make it to where it can't be. And Oklahoma is close to it becoming legal.
It should be.
I feel.
I think they're trying to stop the states that don't have same-sex marriage legalized.
Right.
Let's make that not pass. We've already lost maybe a few states here and there. Let's make those things not pass.
Well, I believe I read a little bit of it. I think they're also going after the states that have legalized it to make it illegal.
Yeah.
They're wanting those reversed.
It's going to be harder to make something snap it back to being illegal again. That kind of thing. Especially with, you look at same-sex marriage, how many couples have gotten married now. So then you go try to make it illegal again. So do you have to nullify what that was? And that's weird to do.
Yeah, and I don't think you could nullify those because it was legal when they did it.
Grandfathered in. Is that what they call that?
Yep.
Yeah. I've thought about moving to different states to sports bet. I'm joking. I have thought about traveling to different states to play, because there was a guy I knew that lived in Missouri when it was illegal in Missouri. I didn't know him, but I followed him, and he would drive across state lines to Illinois to place his bets because he lived in St. Louis. So it was just, 5-minute drive.
Yeah, right.
But he was
just cross the bridge.
Yeah, he just had to cross the bridge to go place his bets, or cell phone tower be in that.
Well, that's
area.
Dedication, because I won't even cross the bridge in Sand Springs to go to Walmart.
well, I think what it was, he was really good. He helped me on some of his hot picks or whatever, make some changes, and I had Will Fuller one day because of him, and I won on a $1 bet, I won $300, $300. Yeah.
Great ROI.
That's my claim to fame is I was out of the 250,000 are in those competitions, I placed top 10.
Nice.
That's what made that. But it's so top heavy on those payouts. But I was so close. There was one day I was going to bed and I had placed a $5 bet. And as I'm going to bed, there's one NBA game left. I look, just checking the FanDuel. Where am I at? I'm winning $30,000 right now. Dang. I'm this is insane. I told Shay, I was now I have to watch this game. I'm a half away from winning $30,000. And JJ Redick comes off the bench, 3-3-3, and I just see my number going slowly down, 30,000, 10,000, 12, or whatever the numbers that go down, apparently, 5,000. I woke, and then finally I was whatever. And then I end up winning $50, which I would have been happy at it if I went to sleep.
And woke up.
Not knowing that I was winning 30,000. I would have been 5 to 50, that's awesome.
10 times, yeah.
But no,
Dang.
JJ Redick comes off the bench and takes.
So do you dislike JJ Redick now?
Yeah. That was one of my claim to fames as well. But that's why it makes it fun, guys. I think if these Southern Baptist people would sports bet, they might watch the WNBA. I don't know.
Well, listen, they probably do sports bet themselves, but in public.
Oh, isn't that what they say? Like the things that you struggle with the most, sometimes you preach against
Yes.
the most. And so, yeah, like people that are trying, like very proactive and vocal about banning these things, they
Yes.
probably have the addiction.
Yes.
Yeah.
Speaking
Okay.
of,
As we're talking about people now.
right. Speaking of, that is actually one thing that Michael said in his sermon this week. Michael preached on gossip, and one of the first things he said is a buddy of his came up to him and he said, I like it when you preach because I always know what you're struggling with.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Yeah. Along that same line, Michael must be struggling with gossip because he preached on gossip.
He has some very good points. Let's go through some of his.
Honestly, one of my favorite sermons of his.
Really?
It was. My toes hurt afterwards. But
Okay, I was like, is it your favorite sermon because he wasn't talking to you? He was talking to your wife?
I mean,
No, I'm joking.
that too, yes. Her feet were swollen afterwards.
Some points on Michael's sermon or verses that he pulled out was Proverbs 11:13. A gossip betrays a confidence, but a trustworthy person keeps a secret. Ephesians 4:29. Don't let any unwholesome talk come out of your mouths, but only what is helpful in building others up according to their needs, that it may benefit those who listen. Proverbs 26:20. Without food, a fire goes out. Without gossip, a quarrel dies down. And he was making the point with that verse of even if we're not gossiping, but we are allowing that
Right, we're
around
listening
us
to it
and we're
and
listening to
not
it and
shutting
we're
it
not
down.
like shutting it down and somebody's telling you a story that they shouldn't tell you and you're not shutting that story, you're keeping wood on the fire.
Yep.
You're enabling in a sense.
Yeah, you're keeping those embers lit.
Exactly. Proverbs 16:28, a perverse person stirs up conflict and a gossip separates close friends. 29:11 in Proverbs says fools vent their anger, but the wise quietly holds it back. And James 3:5-10, a tongue is powerful, dangerous, and hard to tame.
So we see that there's a lot of verses on gossip, and this is just a small snippet. There's a ton. As I was researching for this podcast, there was a lot. And so the Bible has a lot to say about gossip. We need to kind of define gossip. What is gossip? That was my question in this. What is gossip?
Yeah, and that's what I came home struggling with. It's like, man, like when does a conversation about something, even something that's happened to you, something
Right.
somebody said to you, like when does that move into the gossip? Because it just felt like any story that's not about myself only
Yeah.
ends up becoming, like you were telling me a story earlier this morning, and there's at some point to give me the backstory of what's
backstory,
going
right.
on, we end up talking about a person who
Yeah.
can't defend themselves, and where you're interpreting, what your view of this person based off of your experiences with them.
Yeah, and so I literally was like, well, that wasn't gossip. And then you brought that point up, and I was like, oh, well, maybe it was gossip.
And that's part of his sermon points was like, just because it's true doesn't mean it needs to be talked about, like
Right.
those kind of things. And
Well, so also another story. I was talking to our buddy Thomas, and I was telling him something about something, and the people weren't there to kind of defend themselves. But also, I was just giving him, like, he already knew the story. I was just essentially giving my side of the story.
Right.
So we were talking about that before the sermon, and after the sermon, we didn't talk. We didn't finish
We
because
didn't
we're like,
finish the
wait,
story.
is this gossip or not? Like, it's so confusing there.
there was a meme I saw. I think somebody at our church shared this, and it was like our church people at lunch after a sermon on gossip, and everybody's just super quiet, not talking.
Yeah,
Because like,
just eating.
what can we talk about?
Right.
Because everything is about everyone. I was thinking of news outlets or I like sports talk radio, stuff like that, where like you listen to Pat McAfee or whoever, ESPN, and they are telling you a story, and the ones that I follow is like Aaron Rodgers, where's he gonna
Yeah,
go? The
yeah.
Steelers, the Minnesota
Cowboys,
Vikings.
yeah.
Oh, he's feeling this way about this team. Like he doesn't want to do this. He wants this much money. All of that is really just hearsay, even with In journalism, you have two sources to verify your story, but that's still just two sources of hearsay, and who knows where those two people heard it. It could be back to the same person.
Right.
I think you ever watched that show Newsroom? It was like an HBO show. Oh, it was pretty good. But that was part of it, was like these news outlets were calling somebody being dead. And they were not going to call it yet because they only had one source verification, and it ended up those other news outlets their sources were pulling from the same source, so it was like that one person actually came back to it. Anyway, all of that to say is like those kind of situations, those kind of shows typically are gossip. So like maybe gossip is around us a lot more integrated with our daily lives than I probably realize.
Right. Yeah.
And so it makes talking about Aaron Rodgers or the DC Talk dude, Michael Tate, that's having the rough time right now.
Yeah.
All of that stuff going on, like, it's all gossip talking about them, even though the story's true and we should be informed, like something like that. Like that's where it comes to be weird. Like what's being informed?
Yeah.
When are we gossiping?
What's gossip? Yeah. And so probably shouldn't say this, but I'm going to, because I say a lot of stuff I shouldn't say. Kind of getting back to our point of what is gossip, I'm going to take the Charlie Kirk aspect or approach, and I'm going to give it a simple definition. And gossip is just talking about someone else's issues with no intent to help them or solve the problem. So that when we are talking today, that is that's the definition we will use gossip as.
If there's a person in that story that is not here,
right?
It's like you just say very little about that situation,
right? Because
that's not what you don't like. I derail on things all the time, and so you could easily derail on that person,
absolutely,
instead of back to what we were actually talking.
Yes. So a lot of times, and this has been brought to me a 1,000 times. I've probably said this 1,000 times, but hey, Dusty, we need to pray for so and so because they are really slipping. They got drunk last week or something like this. That's a lot in the church. That's how gossip occurs a lot. Or bless their heart, Dusty was just out there doing this, and then he did this. And the church body tends to use prayer, quote unquote prayer, to gossip a lot.
Right, like really Sister Sue.
Yeah. Why's it gotta be sister? Why not brother? Brother Ben.
Brother Ben, sure. Whoever, everybody gossips. It's not just the females, Andrew.
We're not sexist.
Wait, no, never mind. I said that wrong and it ended up backfiring. Anyway, no,
You're not. I just picked it up, Dusty. Oh, you're right, I'm not.
Dang it.
I picked Mary.
Oh, yeah, let's not go there. Anyways.
Gossip equals information without permission, plus concern without action. So just that whole prayer, I'm concerned about so-and-so. If you're not going to do something about it, you're just gossiping. If you're going to do something about it, then you're coming up with a plan.
Yeah, I think I was talking to Shay about this, and maybe it's like if with prayer requests, because you can pray for a friend, they're dealing with this.
Right.
Like, I think it's how much information you give. There's a lot of times I used to make fun of people that do this, but I have an unspoken prayer request.
Yes.
Unspoken.
Yeah.
Unspoken. Well, like if you're not going to speak it, I'm not going to pray for it. It used to be what I said. Like I need to know. I need to know the details if I'm going to pray for you. Okay.
AKA, I need the gossip.
I need
or
the
I'm
gossip.
not praying.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I need to gossip with the Lord about the situation and pray for it. No, that's where it was kind of like. The unspokens is kind of where you would go to if you're trying not to gossip.
Yes.
Is I want to pray for my friend Ben. He's dealing with some knee problems and he's not going to get help, or whatever. Right. That might be too much, but I want to pray for my Ben for his health. That's all you have to leave it there.
Yeah.
And then at that point, then you're not gossiping about that person. I can know who I'm praying for.
Right.
And general idea, but I'm not going to go into because sometimes your prayer requests can be like I'll say that there's one I saw yesterday in a group chat and it's like, I want to pray for somebody. They're not in this right relationship or whatever. I don't think they even really know the person directly. And it's just, at some point it's like, just pray for that person.
Right.
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe this is one of those things you don't bring everybody into, Like, this is you personally, you pray for that person, or just, I want to pray for, but don't go into all the details. And so, like, every time I see the prayer request pop up, it's like so many details, vague details, but still just like interpreting that you're thinking that this person's wrong in this situation and we need to pray for them.
Right.
And who knows? Like, they are not there to defend themselves in that situation. So then it starts to become like this. Who is this person? I want to know who this person is.
Right.
So I can follow
You have
them
to know
and figure out.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So another real popular quote is, if you're not part of the problem or part of the solution, you probably shouldn't be part of the conversation. I've heard that too. Matter of fact, I've heard that from Rusty.
See, I'm the guy that, you've seen the memes where there's like cops outside with another couple
Yeah.
and they're like fake sweeping or vacuuming their porch or whatever.
Yeah, vacuuming the grass. Yeah.
Yeah, just to be
Just
able
to
to
get closer.
That is kind of me sometimes. I want to know what's going on from afar.
Yeah.
Like, but I don't want. Please don't ask me to be a part of the solution. Like, I'm not there to do and help. I just want to.
See, I'm the opposite. I'm like, keep your problems out of my life because I have my own problems.
Yeah.
Like, if you want prayer requests, okay, I don't need to know what's going on. I will just pray for you because that's just who I am. I got too much in my head to fill it with other people's problems.
Yeah.
So when is it gossip versus venting versus accountability? And that's we've kind of already touched on that. Is it helping or harming them? That's kind of the simplest form.
I think it's where you vent, because there was that verse that we just read that fools vent their anger.
Yes.
And so it might be when you vent or who you vent to, maybe your intentions in the vent, if it is to cause harm. Sometimes your vent is to cause harm, as far as like getting people on your side and angry at the person like you are angry at that person.
I mean, shoot, you and I vented on this show.
Oh, we do it all the time. So it's not gossip. I'm putting it out there. Everybody knows what I'm talking about. You got a problem with it? Come talk to me. No.
Now, Dusty, be careful because I'm not always here to back you up.
Yeah. But venting, I think that's just who you're venting to. Because you want to be able to express your emotions.
Right.
Because men tend to bottle them up. And that is a problem that we do. And then you end up lashing out on something that has nothing to do with that situation. Right. You need to be able to express your feelings and your emotions to a trusted person, because it kind of provides healing in that sense. I think that's there was a verse in CR that I learned that was like, it was confess your sins to one another, pray for each other so that you may be healed. And so it applied that, like, that confession, that venting of a situation can bring healing, but if you're bottling it up and holding on to it, that healing can't penetrate it.
Nice. I like that.
It's not just looks here.
Yeah, I mean, when it comes to venting, I have a few. Typically, venting is when you're going to somebody who is a safe, you consider safe, or a safe place, usually like an accountability partner or somebody like that. So, like, I have a few people, you, and then maybe two other people that I feel safe to vent to. And typically, you guys know that I'm not gossiping because, well, one, you guys know me, and I don't care about other people's problems per se. And so it's not really something I'm going to gossip about. I'm just venting. Then also that brings up accountability. I've done this where I've gone to our pastor and I'm like, hey, so-and-so is doing this. How should I respond? I mean, to me, that's also a form of gossip, because maybe our pastor had no idea what that was going on. And so now they're only getting my side of it. And here I'm coming at it with a spiritual aspect of, how do I handle this?
Yeah, and then you put that pastor in a weird situation, because the right thing for him to do is to go to that person, get their side of it. But now that they know that you're talking about them, and so the pastor's breaking your trust in that confidentiality, and you're a friend that I trust not to go spread this. But now, so you're kind of, putting them in a weird...
Right. And so, I mean, accountability can also equal, or doing it as accountability can also equal gossip. And I feel people do abuse it that way as well, under the disguise of accountability. So another question is, why does gossip feel so good? Because people tend to gossip because they're lacking something. They need something, and they feel some sort of power when they gossip. This was something that I actually researched because medically that's my interest, and so I'm like, does it release something? Does it release hormones? Why does it feel good when you gossip? And I did find that it does release dopamine and oxytocin, which dopamine is the reward chemical in your body, and then oxytocin is kind of that bonding hormone that creates stronger bonds between people. It's a natural drug. That's why you gossip, because you get addicted to it. Because once you get a positive response from somebody, you're like, oh, I like this. So you tend to do it more. And then on the other side of it, say you're the person being gossiped about, that's also going to release a hormone. It's going to release cortisol, which is the stress hormone. And so it's going to stress you out. It's going to make you feel bad. That kind of gives the people who are gossiping about you power over you, because now they're bringing you down.
Right. In Michael's sermon, he had the 4 reasons why we gossip. One was control, feeling powerful by possessing insider information. That's probably me. I just love that insider information. I just want to be included. Validation, that we want to be listened to and affirmed. So when we're gossiping, we want, some people like to be heard telling those stories, and maybe there's not drama in their life, and so they kind of but they want the attention that can bring. Bitterness and offense, they have been hurt and want others to feel that same way. And then 4 was masking insecurities, tearing somebody else's down to make you feel better about yourself.
And that's why shows are popular, like Love Island and
hey, don't I'm already leaving the Southern Baptist. Don't make me leave this friendship.
Well, and Big Brother and all those shows, they
leave JoJo Siwa alone. No, I'm joking.
they target this whole area in your life because you want to know. Oh, what did JoJo Siwa say about so and so? I gotta watch this episode because I gotta find out. They are literally targeting your sense of gossip.
And you've heard those any kind of reality show. If you look at some of the behind the scenes or interviews afterwards, they're portraying the story the way they want you to hear it. When I watch Love Island, okay, when I get a VPN downloaded so I can be in the UK so I can watch Love Island before it's released in Hulu later for the Americans. If I was to do that, hypothetically, they're recording a full day's worth of content and combining it to 1 hour of an episode, because each day is an episode, basically. Right. Imagine the amount of conversations that don't get shown in that show because it's not portraying the storyline of, oh, there's a riff in this relationship. But you don't see the fact that they're perfect. Those guys are perfectly fine. Friends 30 minutes prior, all this kind of stuff. And there was just a little heart-to-heart conversation, but nothing crazy. And then they went back to being fine again. You don't see that part of it. You just see the riff conversation. Yeah. And so then you feel like, oh, these people hate each other. These people are going to get in a fight, all this stuff. But that's not it's being portrayed in a certain way, which is gossip. Gossip is putting your spin on somebody else's story. Yes. Somebody else's situation. And that is why we love those shows.
No, we don't love them. That's why you.
Yeah, we love them, Andrew. You and I watch it together all the time. And it's on record now. So
it's true. It's not gossip.
It's not gossip, guys. It's true. Andrew loves Love Island. Continue.
So we talked about why gossip feels good, but why is it dangerous? I mean, easily said, it destroys trust. It divides relationships. It damages your testimony and your witness, things like that. I mean, and this has happened very recently to me. I've lost a good friend of mine because of this exact issue. So I'm right there with it, in the thick of it. But that's
into the thick of it.
We've kind of already talked about it, the cortisol hormone, and it creating stress in your life. So, I mean,
and then you can get addicted to the dopamine effects and stuff like that. That's with sports betting. That's the same kind of thing that happens. You get that dopamine kick of winning, and you're getting that same from gossip. Yeah. So one of the things that he talked about, I think I mentioned the enabling, the not shutting down the conversation, keeping the wood on the fire. Yep. What are some ways that we can shut down people gossiping to us, around us? How can we make it not awkward? That's my struggle.
So I don't care to make it awkward. That's just me. That is. And I say, really? So should I go talk to this person about that? Or, okay, let me go ask their side of this now. Easily, you can just say, hey, I'm not part of this. I don't need to hear this. That's the easiest way to shut it down.
And you can just turn it to the Lord and just be like, this is maybe something we just need to pray for this person.
Right.
And just kind of leave it there. And that kind of shuts down but let's learn what we're praying for. Like, no, we just need to pray for them. Like,
right.
Yeah, 'cause I think that's
just respond with grace, but be very clear about your intentions. So, Michael actually he gave some good points about it as well. I don't have the notes because I don't take notes, but he did give some good examples of how to get out of it. Really, you just want to be a model of where truth and honor matter more than the juicy details, Dusty.
I think that's what Michael's point was talking about being above reproach. One, not living a life that allows people to interpret situations the way they want to, and kind of, because any kind of time you're being gossiped about, it's regardless if it's true or not, and you see this a lot in the news cycles, regardless if it's true or not, you've developed a feeling about this person.
Right.
You developed your truth, even though it's false.
Like Michael said, he doesn't ride in cars with girls, right? Dusty, I mean, you go around saying you've slept in a girl's bed.
No.
That you're not married to.
It's a good icebreaker because it's true.
Yeah, it was funny because she was actually here a couple weeks ago and she goes, "You did? What?"
Okay, here's the backstory. So growing up, our pastor's wife and I are same age. And so growing up, used to hang out at their house a lot. Nothing ever romantically. Like I was
nerdy.
I was so nerdy. Like I did, come on. She had an older sister that was 2 grades up. And so I I usually hung out with older people or younger people. I never hung out with people my same age. So it's always weird, looking at our class pictures back in the day. Cause
right.
I wasn't hanging out with those people. And so I was hanging out with Megan's sister, who was 2 years older, I think. And then
her boyfriend
and stuff like that.
Friends, yeah.
And so sometimes just the way my lifestyle was, I was probably at home maybe 60-70% of my time, but the other nights, I was staying at our youth pastor's house, I was staying at Ashley's boyfriend's house, Justin, or I was staying at Megan's house, it was just, or your house. There was, I was never a bad kid, never an untrustworthy kid. And so
you had freedom.
I had a lot of freedom that came with that. There was a day where I slept in Megan's sister's bed because I think maybe Ashley slept in the living room because her friend stayed the night or something like that. Something weird like that. So I was like, I'm sleeping in your bed. So I got awoken the next morning by her boyfriend tapping the window and to give her, I guess, a kiss before he went to work. And I opened the window and he's like, "What? Dusty, go to bed." I almost got a good morning kiss out of the deal. And so I always say that story, just because it is such a weird, outlandish. People
Hold up. Her boyfriend's tapping on the door or on the window, and then you open it up, and he has no concern.
No concern at all. There's zero probability that there was anything wrong in this situation. So that's why it's even more funny to me, right? Because that was a situation. There was zero probability, and so but nobody else knows that because I just say, yeah, I slept in her bed. And we leave it at that and let them kind of interpret it themselves. But usually I clear the story up after the initial shock. But Ashley was like, "Don't tell people that."
Yeah.
I was like, "It's true." What are you talking about? I've even worn Megan's clothes if we want to get
Whoa.
Aaron Mattingly and I put on a fashion show.
Is this why you're leaving the Southern Baptist?
Oh gosh.
It wasn't the sports betting.
Crap. Oh man.
Okay. So moving on, Dusty, let's just leave that there. Let that simmer and cook. How do we change our, okay, so we've had a lot of shifts this year in our church, holy shifts. So how do we shift our church culture from gossip to grace?
I think it's being more direct with people. I think a lot of times gossip starts with us avoiding the conversation we should have and then start having conversations we shouldn't have. So if we were more direct with the person we're dealing with, not in anger, but talking to them the way we'd want to be talked to. I think that's a shift, if we can be more direct with people that way.
So one thing that popped in my head while you were saying that was it's more of a biblical response. If you have a problem with a person, you go to that person.
Exactly. Yeah.
And you correct them in private. And if they don't take that correction, heed that correction, then you go to the pastor with it. And so maybe, let's start with that first one rather than jumping to the second one where you go straight to the pastor and you're like, hey, so-and-so's doing this. How do I handle it? Why don't you just go to that person and like you said, have direct conversation with them?
I think one mistake we make in that is we shouldn't do that in the moment. A lot of times people try to come directly to you in the moment of everything's heated and the emotions are high instead of maybe coming back a couple days later. Hey, can we talk about this situation? And so we can hash it out. Then that's the actual conversation of, are you dealing with it or does it need to go out? It's not like in the moment and then you go tattle on pastor.
Right.
So like that's, I think, the difference there.
I feel we need to challenge our leaders and just the congregation, the parishioners, as Johnny would say, to just create a stronger environment for restoration. So rather than condemnation, because you and I have both been a part of that as well.
Right.
And that's another episode. Tune in next week because I feel that. If Dusty lets me have my topic, that's what we'll be talking about next week. We'll see.
Finally, just going back to that verse, gossip dies when it doesn't have an audience. So stop putting wood on the fire.
That's a good one, yeah.
Then gossip will die. That's, if you want to think about it, that's why we see the news stories out there nowadays, and all of a sudden you're like, well, why aren't we hearing about this big, huge story anymore?
Yeah.
It's like people stopped talking about it, start talking about something else, and that story died.
Yep.
It's no longer fun gossip anymore.
Right. But bring up Ukraine right now. We're not hearing anything about Ukraine because right now all we're hearing about are riots.
We're hearing about riots, or we're hearing about, was it Israel that just bombed somebody?
Yeah, Israel just bombed Iran last night.
Yeah. So
just closing thoughts on this, Dusty. The church isn't supposed to be a rumor mill. It's supposed to be a place for healing. It's a hospital. And the healing starts, and I hear this all the time from my wife, when we speak life into people and not whispers in the hallway.
That's right.
Anyways, thank you guys for listening.
All right, so please go and gossip about this podcast to your friends and let them know that they should listen.
Is it gossip if we're giving them permission?
Ooh, I think so. Put on your own interpretation. You have our permission to put on your own interpretation. Talk about how I slept in
somebody else's bed.
And but really, like and share. Hope you're kind of on this journey with us. We're talking about gossip, trying to make some changes in our own lives that you also maybe get challenged. Like and share this episode. Check us out, BibleBeltBros.com. Obviously, we post a lot on Facebook, not much on Instagram. Maybe I'll try to do that more. But I always keep forgetting to do Instagram because most of you guys are old and you are on Facebook. So,
Yep.
So let's just be honest. Let's just be honest with us. All right. And we will see you next week.
Take it easy.